All right, welcome back to another episode of the RC Barn. Showing you a little fire action here. It's always nice having a pellet stove in your shop when you need the heat. It's not too bad outside, but I keep it about 61 degrees in here, and it's currently 40-ish outside. Snow's melting away. Looking forward to springtime, so that hopefully this will fly very, very soon. The Super Sportster 90. I just thought I'd show you a quick clip of where I'm at here. Couldn't help but do some assembly here and see what the colors are starting to look like. Really starting to like the way this thing's coming together. Not sure what I'm going to do for trim on the wings yet, but got both of the Super Tiger 60 blue heads mounted. Like I said, I haven't done much of anything else. I did get everything covered. I got the hinges made, and that's kind of what brings me to today's subject. Probably do some short little videos here of some assembly going on. I am using Dubro flat hinges. I don't think I have any just floating around right now. These are pin hinges like that. You can see them in there. They're flat. They come about out here, and they got a pin through the center of them. They're pretty cheap. I like them because these are the one hinges that you do not need to glue in. They got holes through them. I got some here in the elevator that are in the airlawn. I could show you. I just thought of. They got to come out anyways. So anyways, that's what we're looking at there for a flat hinge. You can see the little holes. Now you can epoxy these in. The holes are there to bite into the glue. I prefer to run them in dry. There's a couple reasons for that. Number one, pinning your flat hinges like this with toothpicks, you ain't ever gonna pull that apart. That hinge is there for life. And the nice thing about this is that if you ever do come across the used airplane that has these pins in it, people they'll glue them in, and then after that the epoxy sets. They'll drill holes through it and pin them with toothpicks. These round toothpicks here. See, I'm going through both sides. That's kind of what it looks like when one of them's done. But I didn't feel it necessary to glue my hinges in because they're flat and they're plastic and they got mold release on them and everything. So all I do is I will slot the surface. I'll put my hinges in there. I'll line everything up, and then I drill my holes. These are I'm using a 5/64 drill bit. Just line them up as close as you can with your toothpick here. And like this. I can get it in camera here. You just there focus. Just a round toothpick is all I'm using. And then had to swipe them from the wife's kitchen cabinetry. But anyways, what I do is I drill the hole, I shove them in there, pre-fit them, and then all I do is I just take a small drop of CA here. I'll put it right on the end of the toothpick. I push it in and I let it cure. And after it's done drying, I'll cut all these off, flush with the surface. Okay, I usually use like a cutoff. You can get, obviously one per side with the taper. I usually get I can do this twice. Use one toothpick for two pins, basically. So once that's all done, then you can either leave them. I know glow fuels can get intrusive on this, but basically you can either leave them as is. The other nice thing about this is if you ever need to take the surface off for any reason, you can just come in here and drill these out, and then it just comes out. You don't have to fight the hinge. You don't have to try to fight the pin out or anything like that. That's why I like these Dubro flat hinges. I don't use them a lot. They are kind of a pain to put in to make the slot big enough. You got to go in there and make a slot like you would with a CA hinge. And then open that up. I got a pretty thick knife blade that I use after I've done the initial cut to open the gap up. you want a nice snug fit. You don't want it loose in there. I've heard of guys using like a Dremel wheel to open them up. You know, they make a little saw blade that you can put on your Dremel to open them up. I don't particularly care to use that. I don't like rotating things that can, you know, slice your finger off. Anyways, that's a short little how-to on how I do my pin hinges. So yes, you can say I do not glue my flat hinges in. Now in other places, I'm using Robart. You can see them in there. You can see that Robart pin hinge in there. See? And I'll epoxy these in. So anyways, I'll try to get this closed back up here. I think I like how it's going. I'll probably post a bunch of these short little how-tos. I'll be doing some final assembly. Hopefully, in the next week or so, this thing's going to be ready to go maiden when the weather gets nicer. Alright, we'll catch you in a bit. Alright, well, I got you guys in a different view here. Hopefully this will work out for you. I got you on the end of the building table. Anyways, I would like to talk to you a little bit about setting up your airplane once you get it into the covering stage. Now, earlier I showed you doing the hinging, which I did show you that there. I did get all done. I pinned everything. Again, no glue in here, and I mean, you're not gonna. I'm pulling that with all the force that I can put on it. It's short of ripping the balsa wood out, and I'm not going to get that out of there. So anyways, once you're done here, let's say you got your plane all covered. Next step is like go ahead and you know, true up your wing, and then or your tail to your fuselage. Make sure it's straight. Make sure your rudder's horizontal and centered on the fuselage. That's the biggest thing there. Make sure it's at a 90. Make sure everything's lined up real good. Go ahead and glue all that in. I usually wait. I usually cover everything into individual pieces as much as I can. Just making this assembly go a lot easier. You don't have to worry about working around a stabilizer. You can just cover it. So anyways, I went ahead and I mounted the motors. I put went ahead and put the landing gear on just for ease. I went ahead and drilled my 1/4-20 bolts in here with my wing centered, making sure it's parallel with the fuselage. And I did an initial balance static check. Now you can do a balance check pretty much anytime you want throughout the build. As soon as you got a few assemblies made, like say the fuse is built, wings built, tails are built, you can go ahead and pin that stuff together and get an idea of where your weight's going to be at. Now I had no idea where this was going to land at. I did not build the plane. I just did kind of the final assembly on it. So anyways, I decided to go ahead and hang my Super Tiger 60s because I had two of them. These two engines are fairly new, even though they're old school ringed engines from the 70s and 80s, the blue head versions. I have no idea why the two heads are different colors, but they are the same identical engine. I love my Super Tiger 60 blue heads. They're a fantastic running engine, pretty reliable, and that's kind of the reliability you want in a twin. These one has got maybe 3 fuel tanks, 3 12-ounce tanks run through it. I think the other one, the guy I bought it off of, he said it had a couple 3 or 4 tanks run through it, so they're both hardly broken in even. So they're going to be a great power plant for this. So anyways, I went ahead and put those motors on there, got my main weight in there. Of course, I have no servos in this. I haven't even built the tray yet. And I went ahead and did an initial balance on the spar as indicated on the plans. Now my initial balance is showing an extremely tail heavy plane here, which tail heavy planes are harder to balance than nose heavy. You got a longer movement between here, or about where the CG is at, to here. 1 ounce of weight down back here will offset quite a bit of weight on the nose. I guess you can't see my hands where they're going here. So anyways, I mean, you kind of get the idea. There's nothing up here. This is a solid balsa block that I went ahead and shaped and glued on. So anyways, what that tells me is that I want either my servos that I'm gonna put 3 of them in here. There's gonna be 2 elevator servos and 1 rudder. I want to put them ahead of this as much as the radio equipment as ahead as the CG as I possibly can. So the builder was forethought and left the eye rods pretty long in here. So what I'm going to do is I got this big empty bay in here. And I'll show you guys where a fuel tank would have landed. That's probably where my battery's gonna. That's where my battery's gonna end up at. Receiver doesn't weigh much. I like to stick them to the side. This will have 2.4 in it. But normally you would put the servos back in this area here because it's the biggest area. This up here, if this was built normally, would have been receiver, battery area, switch up here, and then fuel tank here, and then of course a big old engine on the front. Something we could have done differently. We could have lightened the tail up. I don't know that would have been much lightening to be done back there that would have offset the weight. The biggest thing that we can do is we can put as much weight, or put the weight that we're going to have to put in this once we balance it, as far forward in this nose as possible. Now I know that this is a solid balsa block. So what I could do is go in here with a really long drill bit and mark a drill bit, and I could drill a hole pretty far. Here's get you the right angle here. I could drill a hole pretty far up in here and get my nose weight up here. So instead of maybe requiring a pound, I might need only 8 ounces. Some guys will tell you a light plane. There's guys out there that prefer a lighter plane. There's guys out there that prefer a heavier plane. They both have their ups and downs. A heavier plane will handle the wind better. But you're going to have a faster landing approach. You're going to have a longer takeoff run. You're going to require, maybe a little bit more power out of your engines to fly it. A lighter airplane, of course, is going to get thrown around in the wind a little bit more, but it's going to be more aerobatic. So, you got to figure out what you're going to do with the airplane, how you're going to fly it. This is a sport aerobatic, low wing, almost like a low wing trainer type. I do not intend on flying this 3D at all. Of course, I ain't got the control surfaces for it. It's not going to be a pylon racer by any means with the 60s on it. If I wanted a little more speed, I would choose probably a more performance-oriented motor, and I'd probably go up in size. I'd probably go to 90s instead of 60s. This plane was designed for a single 91 two-stroke or a 124 stroke. So, you could go with 90s on this. I'm sure the airframe would handle the power just fine. I do have the something extra twin up there that I designed that was designed around 40s. It's got 40s in it, 46 AXs in it. It's a bit overpowered. But the speed and the power is fun in that. I don't think I'm going to need it in this. This is going to be more of a, let's go up and do some loops, some rolls, touch and go, stuff like that. It was more to, this plane was more to showcase one of my favorite engines that was ever made. And so there's that. So anyways, so right now we need to decide, like, okay, how are we going to mount our servos? Where are they going to be at? And I want to get this fuselage pretty much done up in the next few days. I'd like to get control rods made, servos in it, radio in it. Got to decide where we're going to put our switch. Probably be in this fuselage in here. We're going to do an open cockpit design, so I might hide the switch in here. Have it pop through the can where the pilot would be at, and he can pretend to be holding onto a stick. I like doing that. So, as far as that goes, as far as servos go on this, since I'm running dual elevator servos, I'm just going to go with a couple standards. Futaba 3004s or pretty much whatever I have floating around here for a standard, 40 to 50 inch ounce servo is all that's going to need. The elevator, I think I might have a stronger 6-volt servo floating around here that I can put on. I like a little stronger of a rudder servo. This twins usually get pretty heavy rudder usage, especially as a tail dragger. You know, one engine might come up a little slower than the other. So, you know, you're going to be, you know, offsetting some torque there. It's also important on a twin to have a nice big rudder and something that's got some authority to it in case of engine flame out. That way you can crab it. That motor that remains running is going to want to pull that down the ground, and you offset that with rudder. So it's pretty important on a twin that you have a nice strong rudder servo in there. Since I am tail heavy, I'm going to go ahead and make my runs as my connections to the surfaces back here as light as possible. On rudder, these eye rods were installed by the builder. I don't mind using eye rods. I probably would just throw some 632 rod through here. I got some pretty long ones that I can reach all the way to the back. I will probably do that with the elevators. Run dual elevator servos, but for the rudder, I will probably take the one that ran in here for the rudder. I'm just going to leave it, cut it short, and I'll run pole poles back there. So anyway, that's another video. Just wanted to put like what kind of thought process goes into, you know, setting an airplane up for radios. Of course, you got to have some forethought into it before you start building, you know, especially when you start modifying stuff like into a twin. This is going to have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 servos in it. So you got to keep that in mind too. Like how are you gonna, you know, what radio are you going to use? Are you going to have any programming? You know, this has got dual throttle servos, dual aileron servos, dual elevator servos, a rudder servo, and a flap servo. So, yeah, I mean, you can mix, like the throttle servos, they can be mixed through a Y channel. I do have 8-channel receivers, and I have an 8-channel radio. We might play around with doing individuals like that. Not sure that I can Y 2 throttles with my radio setup. I'm sure it's possible. We'll have to see if I can figure that out. Of course, direct runs are better than Y harnesses. Why? I don't know. We ran Y harnesses for years. I got, I think, 3 of them in this something extra twin to run all of its stuff. And it's got a very similar setup. So anyways, I'm going to pause the video there. Just wanted to like talk to you guys about that a little bit. Probably going to see a lot of short videos this week, detailing different aspects of this build. I'm going to kind of, since I didn't start videotaping this when I started working on this plane, I acquired it 2 years ago. Started working on it last winter, and then we built the barn, so it got put on hold. And then so it's the goal for this plane is to have it ready, made and ready here real soon, so that way I can get on to some of these other projects that I got that I really haven't had time to get to, but really want to get done. So anyways, there's that. I'm not sure if that'll be it on this. I'll probably videotape some more tomorrow and just tack it onto this video, but it's getting pretty late, so I'm gonna work out some stuff here, and I will talk to you guys later.